Once again, if you haven't filled out your speaker card, please do so as soon as possible if you'd like to speak. All public comment must be addressed to the council as a whole. Addressing individual council members or staff is not allowed. Speakers should be courteous in their choice of words or actions, and comments should be limited to the issue and cannot involve individuals or staff-related matters. All cell phones, pagers, and electronic devices used for communications should be silenced for the duration of the meeting. I'd like to call the meeting of the Terrebonne Parish Council Wednesday, November 30th to order. Ms. Domain, could you lead us in a prayer followed by a pledge?
Grant us grace, O Father, to do the work this day as workmen and women who need not be ashamed. Give us the spirit of diligence and honest inquiry in our quest for truth, the spirit of charity, and in all our dealings with our fellows, and in the spirit of gaiety, courage, and a quiet mind in facing all tasks and responsibilities. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, Ms. Becknell.
Mr. Babin? Here. Mr. Dirk Guidry? Here. Mr. Trosclair? Here. Mr. Harding?
Here.
Mr. Michel?
Here.
Mr. Amity?
Here.
Ms. Domingue?
Here.
Mr. Darrin Guidry?
Here.
Mr. Chairman, you have a quorum present.
Thank you very much. Approved minutes of the regular council session held on October 26, 2022.
Move.
Moved by Ms. Jessica Domain, seconded Mr. John Amity. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Distribute minutes of the regular council session held on November 16th, 2022, which I believe has been done. Approve accounts payable bill list for November 21st, 2022 and November 28th, 2022.
Move.
Moved by Mr. Cole Harding, seconded Mr. Dirk Guidry. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. 1, general business, presentation by parish administration relative to capital projects, including drainage, utility, road, and quality of life projects, as well as other matters relative to the operation and maintenance of parish government. Mr. Toups, do we have anything?
None tonight, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. Moving along to B, emergency ordinance, authorizing an emergency appropriation to the opening budget to allocate necessary emergency use funds in order to repair damage to the Bayou Terrebonne miter gate lock system for the purpose of protecting the life, safety, and welfare of citizens of Terrebonne Parish. We have a motion to adopt the ordinance by Mr. John Amity, seconded by Mr. Dirk Guidry. Mr. Michel.
Yeah, my question is, this is a result of a boat hitting the structure, is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, and the other question is there going to be an insurance claim? Or is there going to be a claim against the company that owned the boat?
Mr. Hebert, could you answer that question, please?
Yeah, well, Mr. Michel, without getting into it, we presently have a lawsuit.
Okay, thank you.
All right, seeing no more discussion, we have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ordinance passes. Item C, resolution providing for the acceptance of work performed by LA Contracting Enterprises, LLC, in accordance with the Certificate of Substantial Completion for Parish Project number 16-SEW-13, Knockin Street Sewer Lift Station Project, Terrebonne Parish, Louisiana. We have a motion by Mr. Harding, seconded by Mr. Danny Babin. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution passes. Public wishing to address the council. I don't have any speaker cards, so do we have a motion to divert and go to item 3? We have a motion by Mr. Trosclair, seconded Mr. Amity. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We are on item 3, committee reports. Community Development and Planning Committee. Mr. Trosclair.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I make a motion that council accept and ratify the minutes of the Community Development and Planning Committee held on November 28, 2022, and had 3 public hearings. Hearing 1 is introduce an ordinance authorizing the parish president to execute a right-of-use agreement between TPCG and Claude Luke Jr. and Pauline Luke for the property that bears municipal address of 110 Indigo Street, Dulac, Louisiana, 70353, and call a public hearing on said matter on Wednesday, December 14, 2022 at 6:30 p.m. Second one is an introduce an ordinance to authorize the parish president to execute a right-of-use agreement between TPCG and Virgia Beach, James Beach, for the property that bears a municipal address of 214 Bayou Garden Drive, Houma, Louisiana, 70364. Call a public hearing on said matter on Wednesday, December 14, 2022 at 6:30 p.m. Third and final one is to introduce an ordinance authorize the parish president to execute a right of use agreement between TPCG and Alvin and Beverly Billiard for the property that bears a municipal address of 7326 Shrimpers Road, Dulac, Louisiana, 70353, and call a public hearing on said matter on Wednesday, December 14, 2022 at 6:30 p.m.
Motion, Mr. Trosclair, seconded by Mr. Amity. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Item B, Budget and Finance Committee, Mr. Carl Harding.
Yes, I make a motion to that the council accept and ratify the minutes of the Budget and Finance Committee held on November 28, 2022. I have 3 public hearings. The first one is to introduce the ordinance declaring a vehicle from Housing and Human Services and an excavator for Forest Drainage Department as surplus and authorizing said items to be disposed of by any legal approved method and call for a public hearing on Wednesday, December 14, 2022 at 6:30 p.m. The second one is to introduce the ordinance to amend the 2022 adopted operating budget and 5-year capital outlay budget of the Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government for the following items and provide for related matters. Bayou Country Sports Park Road Lights, $100,000. Funnyburg Bridge Extension, $375,000. Houma Police Department, $14,492. Falgo Canal Marsh Management Program, $47,737. Bayou Sports Park, $2,984,000. Bayou Terrebonne Lock Pump Station, $5 million. 5% budget adjustment for Parish Prisoner Fund, $40,000. 5% budget adjustment for Road District Number 6, O and M, $6,586. 5% budget adjustment for Road Lights Districts Number 1, $3,023. 5% budget adjustment for Road Lighting District Number 6, $7,500. And 5% budget adjustment for Criminal Court Fund, $0, and call for a public hearing on said matter on Wednesday, December 14, 2022 at 6:30 p.m.
Second.
Finally, the third one can be introducing the ordinance to adopt the 2023 operation and maintenance budget and the 5-year capital outlay improvement budget of the Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government as presented by the parish president and further amended by the Terrebonne Parish Council to amend the compensation plan for new and or adjusted positions to approve a 2% cost of living increase for the parish presidents, departments, and council staff, and to address other matters related thereto and call for a public hearing on said matter on Wednesday, December 14, 2022 at 6:30 p.m.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Harding, seconded by Ms. Domang. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Street lights, light installations, removals, and/or activations? As per by Mr. Amity, seconded Mr. Trosclair. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Appointments to various boards, committees, and commissions. A is Recreation District Number 1 Board, 1 expiring term on December 3rd, 2022. Ms. Terry Chatinier expresses her interest in being reappointed.
Motion to open and close and reappoint Ms. Chatinier.
Motion to open, close, and reappoint Ms. Chatinier by Mr. Michel, seconded by Mr. Amity. All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Item B, Recreation District Number 10, 1 expiring term on December 18th, 2022. Mr. Travis Malbrew expresses his interest in being reappointed.
Open, close, and appoint. Second.
Motion to open, close, and reappoint Mr. Malbrew by Mr. Danny Babin, seconded Mr. Carl Harding. All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Item C, Downtown Development Corporation, 4 expired terms on November 1st, 2022. one representing each of the following: the Downtown Merchants, Convention and Visitors Bureau, EDAB/Council, and Arts and Humanities. Ms. Chantel Abshire, representing EDAB/Council, submits application and resume for consideration.
Motion to open, close, and appoint Miss Abshire and hold the others over.
Motion to
Second.
open, close, and appoint Ms. Abshire by Ms. Domingue, seconded by Mr. Michel. All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Item D, the 911 Communications District, 4 expiring terms on December 31st, 2022, one representing each of the following: the Fire Chief Association, Houma Police Department, South Terrebonne, and Medical Services. Mr. Peter Zush, representing Medical Services, expresses his interest in being reappointed. Mr. Brian Chassaw, representing South Terrebonne, expresses his interest in being reappointed. Sergeant Neil Abbott, representing the Houma Police Department, expresses his interest in being reappointed.
Open, close, and appoint Mr. Perry, Mr. Bryan, and Mr. Neal, and hold the other one over.
Second.
Motion to open, close, and appoint Mr. Perry, Mr. Bryan, Mr. Neal, and hold the other by Mr. Danny Babin, seconded by Mr. Gerald Michel. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
I did use their first names, but Canyon knows to put the second surname. Okay, thank you.
Item E, Planning and Zoning Commission, one expiring term on today, November 30th, 2022. Council Representative, African American, Mr. Wayne Thibodeau, expresses his interest in reappointed.
Motion to open, close, and reappoint Mr. Thibodeau.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Michel to open, close, and reappoint Mr. Thibodeau, seconded by Mr. Harding. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And I apologize, Mr. Thibodeau is also a former parish councilman. Thank you for attending our meeting and for putting your name up. And Mr. Alvin Tillman is also here. Didn't see you behind that podium. Thank y'all for coming. Houma Area Convention and Visitors Bureau, one expiring term on December 31st, 2022. Ms. Tracy S. Hawthorne submits application and resume for consideration. Motion to open, close, and appoint Ms. Hawthorne by Mr. Dirk Guidry, seconded by Mr. Carl Harding. All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Item G, Council District Number 1, one vacancy due to a resignation. Mr. Brian K. Pledger submits application and resume for consideration. Reverend Corian D. Gray submits application and resume for consideration. Mr. Lionel Tony Lewis Jr. submits application and resume for consideration. And Mr. Alvin Tillman submits application and resume for consideration. Motion to open, close, and vote by Mr. Dirk Guidry, seconded by Mr. Carl Harding. All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Will you call roll, Ms. Beckno?
Mr. Babin,
Yes, Mr. Tillman.
Mr. Dirk Guidry,
Mr. Tillman.
Mr. Trosclair, Mr. Harding,
Tillman.
Mr. Michel,
Mr. Tillman.
Mr. Amity,
Mr. Tillman.
Ms. Domingue,
Mr. Pledger?
Mr. Darrin Guidry.
Mr. Pledger.
Mr. Chairman, we have 3 votes for Mr. Brian Pledger and 5 votes for Mr. Alvin Tillman.
Congratulations, Mr. Tillman. Would you like to say something?
Good evening. Council Chairman, Vice Chairman, council members, and administration. I'd like to thank you guys for taking the opportunity to give me this opportunity to serve for the next 90 days. Certainly as a former council member, man, I tell you, my wife asked me what I'm getting myself into if I do this. But I just like to thank you guys and looking forward to working with you guys and giving whatever I can to the betterment of this parish. So I say thank you guys, and you all as well continue to do a great job. And also I want to let the public know one thing. I decided to accept this seat for the next 90 days, and I just want everyone to know I wish the best for all of the candidates that's going to step out and try to give themselves to this parish And I want those candidates to know that I wish them the best and let them know that I have no desire, believe me, no desire of running for this seat. So I wish them the best, but I certainly thank you guys.
Thank you, Mr. Till. Look forward to working with you. Mr. Babin.
Yeah, you know, we're very fortunate. We had 4 excellent candidates for this. So in March, I think it's March, the next election comes along, we didn't create an incumbent. We're going to do what really government should do, let the people decide, rather than 8 politicians up here decide. So in any event, thank you, Mr. Tillman, for putting your name up, Mr. Pledger, Tony, and Reverend. Thank you all very much for putting your names up. No, I can't see back there.
Mr. Harding.
Yes, I basically go along with the sentiments of Mr. Babin. I think the candidates that were here, they were worthy. There are a number of instances that we can make a distinction between committees and things like that. But this is very, very important. And like Mr. Babin has said, that, you know, we're giving an opportunity for the people to choose their choice. And I appreciate Mr. Tillman coming in. And I believe, basically, I think he's doing it to create some neutrality. And those candidates that still desire the office of District 1, this is the opportunity to actually present yourself to the people. And the people that you represent should have a full understanding that they must get out to vote. If they want their candidate to be the representative of their district, they must get out to vote. Thank you very much.
Okay, Mr. Babin?
Yeah, just one thing. What is the procedure from here from Mr. Tillman? The clerk of courts will swear him in, and then he'll be eligible to sit up here at our next council meetings. Okay? Just want to make sure.
Correct. Our next council meeting, Mr. Tillman, is the 14th of December. Our committees are on the 12th. So that should be plenty enough time to get sworn in.
Yeah. Well, I just wanted to make sure that was the process.
Yes, sir. Anything else? All right. Moving along, Homa Terrebonne Public Trust Finance, 3 expiring terms, 1 on December 18th, 2022, and 2 on December 26th, 2022. Mr. Randall Bernard expresses his interest in being reappointed.
Open, close, and appoint Mr. Bernard and hold the other 2 over.
Mr. Babin moves to open, close, and appoint Mr. Randall Bernard and hold the other 2 expiring terms. Seconded by Mr. Carl Harding. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Upcoming vacancies to various boards, committees, and commissions. Recreation District Number 5 has 1 expiring term that will expire on December 26, 2022. Children and Youth Services Board has 5 expired terms, 3 on November 5th and 2 that expired on November 16th, 2022. The Terrebonne Parish Tree Board has 3 vacancies due to resignations. Downtown Development Corporation has 3 expired terms that expired on November 1st, 2022, 1 representing each of the following: Downtown Merchants, Convention and Visitors Bureau, and Arts and Humanities. The Municipal Civil Service Board has 1 expiring term, our expired term that expired yesterday, November 29th, 2022, and the Homa Terrebonne Public Trust Finance, 2 expiring terms, 1 on December 18th, 2022, and 1 on December 26th, 2022. Port Commission has 2 expiring terms on December 31st, 2022, each representing the parish president, and the 911 Communication District has 1 expiring term on December 31st, 2022. We have time. Announcements. Mr. Toups, do you have something for the parish president?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just like everyone to know that yesterday we had a brief ceremony in the 7th floor conference room. As you may or may not know, back in August of last year, the Coast Guard held 2 weeks of hearings at the Civic Center for the Seacor Power tragedy. During this hearing, our Homa Police Department provided security, and one of our IT reps, Mr. Brian Rodrigue, provided extensive service to help the Coast Guard with their audio, visual, and whatever electronic needs they required. The Commandant of the Coast Guard from Washington, D.C., issued the United States Coast Guard Certificate of Merit to the Houma Police Department, and the Commandant of the Coast Guard also issued a Coast Guard Public Service Commendation to Mr. Brian Rodrigue. So this is something that is good news for a change. And it just shows the can-do and the will-do attitude of our people. And we appreciate the Coast Guard recognizing our people. So again, I just want to let the council know it is on HTV, it is on our parish website, and it is on our Facebook page, the whole ceremony. But again, I think the Houma Police Department and Mr. Brian Rodrigue should be commended for their assistance in this hearing. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Toups. Mr. Trosclair.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. And Mike, I want to echo my appreciation and congratulations to Mr. Rodrigue and also the Houma Police Department publicly. And the next thing I want to talk about is Saturday, Terrebonne Parish is going to have its annual Christmas parade. The time has changed from 5 to 6 p.m., so it will start at 6 p.m. and run the traditional route from Terrebonne High parking lot, basically down to Town Hall, down back. Say it again? Scarlet Scoop. It technically ends at Scarlet Scoops, yeah. Excuse me. So I want to invite everybody in the parish to come out and enjoy a good time. It's really a great event. There's going to be 34, 35 floats, so it's a really big parade, and it's really good for the kids. So come out, everyone, and just remember the times changed from 5 to 6 to accommodate the LSU football game. So thanks a lot.
Ms. Domingue.
Yeah, and I'd like to piggyback a little bit on what Mr. Trosclair said. Prior to the parade, there will be a festival in the courthouse square for the McDonald's Children's Home. It's Celebrate the Child Festival and Chili Cook-Off. It's replacing the old Christmas festival that we previously had. It will be 10 to 5, so please come and enjoy the day. It should be a beautiful day in Courthouse Square, and then enjoy the parade after. And we will be cooking chili, so come by and say hi.
Mr. Babin.
Yeah, while he's on Zoom, I just want everybody to keep our fellow Councilman Gerald Michel in their thoughts. He's having surgery Friday, and Gerald, just know we're thinking about you, buddy.
Mr. Harding.
Yes, and one of the reasons why I can see everybody out there, and I wanted to offer my condolences to my schoolmate, class of 1973, Mr. Pro, and wish his family well.
Thank you, Mr. Harding. Mr. Michel.
Thank you, and thank you, Councilman Babin. I really appreciate that. It's been a challenging time, and hopefully this is a light at the end of the tunnel. Also, I wasn't called on after the vote for the District 1, and I did want to acknowledge my appreciation for all those who put their names in the hat to be the interim District 1 council member, especially to Mr. Tillman, because he has no intent to run, and with that in mind, it does not put the council in the position of endorsing anyone. So I'm glad he stepped up to take that position, and for those who are running, I wish them all luck. And also, I ask everyone, please, if you're able and healthy, go and give blood to support those who are in need. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Michel. And I'd also like everybody to remember people during the holidays that are, suffering with depression and with, any, mental issues. This is a tough time, in a lot of people as they, experience trials and tribulations. And just remember, we never know what people are going through, and so just try to treat everybody with respect how you would want to be treated and be there for them. We have a motion by Mr. Trosclair to recess, seconded by Mr. Dirk Guidry. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? We're at recess for 5 minutes. Okay, we'll resume the meeting. Do we have a motion from Mr. Trosclair to go back in regular order? Second, Mrs. Dirk Guidry. All in favor say aye. Any opposed? We go back to the 6:30 public hearings. A, an ordinance to authorize the acquisition of property by way of donation by quit claim deed from Dixie Rice Agriculture LLC, authorizing the parish president to execute any and all documents necessary to acquire property by way of donation by quit claim deed from Dixie Rice Agriculture LLC. Public once. Public twice. Third time public. Motion to close, Mrs. Dirk Guidry. Seconded, Mr. Gerald Michel. All in favor say aye. Motion to adopt, Mr. Dirk Guidry. Seconded, Mr. Gerald Michel. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Item B, an ordinance to partially revoke ordinance number 5680 and dededicate an existing dedicated public servitude of passage for the paved street right-of-way in Glen Oaks subdivisions located in section 102 T17S R17E. Public once. Public twice. Third time public.
Motion to close.
Motion to close, Mr. Gerald Michel, seconded by Ms. Jessica Domingue. All in favor say aye.
Motion to adopt.
Motion to adopt.
Motion to adopt, Ms. Domingue, seconded Mr. Gerald Michel. All in favor, any discussion? All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Ordinance is adopted. Item C, an ordinance to authorize the acquisition from Boyd Maillet Properties LLC certain immovable property located at 6084 West Park Avenue, Houma, Louisiana 70364, and to provide for related matters. Public once. Public twice. Third time public.
Motion to close.
Motion to close, Mr. Gerald Michel, seconded by Ms. Jessica Domingue. All in favor say aye.
Motion to adopt.
Motion to adopt, Mr. Gerald Michel. Second, Ms. Jessica Domingue. Discussion, Mr. Michel.
I just wanted to mention that this is the first step to getting that Funderburg Street Bridge replaced, which we're in dire need of doing and have been so for many years now. And so we look forward to getting that done. And the purchase will also serve some other purposes for the Public Works Department. So I'm glad this is moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Michel. Any more discussion? We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Ordinance is adopted. Item D, an ordinance to adopt the Terrebonne Parish District Policy and Procedural Manual. Public once. All right, where's my cursor? Mr. Thibodeau?
Yes, sir. Good evening, council members. I reside at 2603 West Main Street in Gray. I read this proposal when it was first introduced, and I must tell you, I don't know that it has changed or if there had been any amendments to it. And if there hasn't been, based on my first reading, I just think it's a bad idea, and it indicates once again that the council or the recreation district director is again trying to dictate to the district how they should run their organization. And these are political subdivisions of the state. I don't know that you have a right to tell them how to operate their business. And so I am against this, and I just think it's a bad idea. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Thibodeau. Second time public. Third time public.
Motion to close public.
Motion to close, Mr. Michel.
Second.
Seconded, Ms. Domingue. All in favor say aye.
Motion to adopt.
Motion to adopt, Mr. Michel.
Second.
Seconded, Ms. Domingue. Mr. Michel.
Thank you. I just wanted to point out that that it's not so much that what we've done here. First of all, we had a group from the community come together and give us recommendations. Those recommendations fell into two categories, basically. One was consolidation. The other one was some improvements that we could do to unify the manner in which recreation is conducted throughout the parish, give the users of facilities an easier access to be able to schedule and reserve venues, and also to be a mechanism that would help to make things more efficient for scheduling of the programs that Terrebonne Parish Recreation does. So I don't think Terrebonne Parish Recreation is taking control of it by any stretch. I think that this is a great thing that's allowing us to utilize these facilities in a more organized manner, and to be sure that the facilities are available to the programs, because that's the primary purpose of these facilities. There are many other purposes, and of course that can be done. There's much room in there for individual decisions within each of the recreation districts, and in the way of scheduling, there are exceptions that are made all the time, because the recreation district people do know their recreation districts best. There's no question about that. But this is a step in the right direction to get things unified, to get recreation districts unified and not consolidated within Terrebonne Parish, and to build our recreation programs in a manner that's going to help to improve quality of life from a recreation standpoint. And so I appreciate Mr. Thibodeau's comments, and I certainly thank Kandace and Roddy for all their work that they've done with this, and I'm glad we're finally to the point that this is going to become part of law in Terrebonne Parish, and we can move forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Michel. Mr. Amity?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. One thing I'm just looking for a little bit clarification on in section 19 on page 53. I know that the intent is to give TPR first right for their programs, and item A says the council has delegated the scheduling of use of parish recreation facilities to the Terrebonne Parish Parks and Recreation Department. I believe what we said was we would give them the controlling of the centralized software scheduling. I think that just kind of sounds like, I mean, it's covered later in I and J where one can't take the other one's thing off without first consulting the other. But I don't know that we gave TPR the right to schedule on top of a district. Sometimes a district might schedule a wedding a year in advance. So I wasn't sure, what does this statement really mean?
I'll try to answer for you, and if I can't clarify it, I think Roddy will have a better answer for you. All it's doing right here is saying that the Recreation Department is going to have the software. And we're going to have all of the facilities from all of the rec districts. The rec districts are going to be able to tell us what they have scheduled out. That's a normal schedule. When it comes down to scheduling the programs, we'll block off a certain amount of time while we register kids. Once we know the teams that are in place, what we're going to need and how we're going to need, we'll change that schedule to take those off. So it's not giving everything over to TPR.
And that's how I understood it, but you got to understand my brain. Words have meanings. Mr. Jules, I drive him crazy over
Absolutely.
that. Mr. LaRue, I do have a question for you, if you want to make your way down. And you know, like I said in I and J, it says they have to do. And I know he knows what most of his programs are going to be. So I'm sure that at the beginning of every year, he's going to block those things out. He can do that from now till Jesus comes because his programs are pretty much repetitive. Excuse me. Item F says districts have the authority to set rental fees for usage and make changes to those allocations. Mr. LaRue, did you ever get any rates from any of the districts?
I believe that only Recreation District 1 actually submitted.
Yeah, the reason why I asked, because one of our intent was to have these people charging for their use of facilities. Yeah. I mean, I understand they're taxpayers and they have rights to use the facilities, but they're taxpayers paying for the rights of those facilities for the TPR Parks and Recreation Program. If these other facilities, I don't know, maybe Mr. Hebert wants to chime in, but I don't know if they can just give their facilities out for usage on that millage. So I think this leaves it open to whether they can just give it free if they want.
When we started all this, we had meetings, Kandace, I, and Roddy, on putting all this together, and that was one of the things, is that you cannot give the gym. In other words, somebody comes there for a wedding, they got to pay for the gym. So, I mean, they're going to have to charge fees for usage.
Right now.
The issue came down is, and I don't mean to cut you off, but I mean,
you remember,
if you remember what it came down to is, my perception is it should have been uniform fees. I think some people felt like no, because some venues may not be as nice or might be a bad, so it might have changed, which that's reasonable. But somebody's gonna have to set the fees for usage, okay? We cannot allow somebody to use that facility. Now, if they're gonna come and do it and ask for a variance, like we do on,
Like a
sponsorships.
nonprofit or something like that.
Sponsorships, that's a different thing, but they have to set the fees, okay?
And I think, you're talking about different facilities in different places, and I understand all of that, but I think there should have been at least a minimum, user fee set somewhere in there. At least, that was my intent. I thought the rest of the council was looking at the same. But, I mean, we can
I think the thing
we
to
can
do,
revisit that.
my recommendation to staff and the council is this. Just enough to get this thing done and passed, and they actually, Kandace and Roddy went through hoops to try and make everybody, please everybody. I think now is the next step, is let Kandace send out a letter and tell them that in accordance with the legislative auditor, they have to set the fees. And then if she runs into an issue, then she can get with me. But
Yeah.
it's not us, it's the legislative auditor that requires them to follow Article 7, Section 14 of the Constitution.
And I intend to pass this tonight, because it's like anything else, we can amend it.
No, pass it.
Yeah.
Then we can amend it.
No, we
But
definitely, I just don't want you to think I'm a hold up
No,
because of my questions,
pass
because
it.
my
But
next question is gonna have to be put in here too. Who's the boss? All right? Who's gonna report? I don't think Mr. Roddy should be doing that. I think Ms. Kandace should be doing that, but I didn't see anywhere in here where it addresses who reports to the council when the rec districts are not. Kandace, I know you've got a workload, but all their money stuff comes through you, right?
No, sir.
No? You're not looking at their budgets?
I do receive.
They send them passed through you?
So I do receive their budgets.
So give me a recommendation who you think should be the overseer.
It'll fall within me, that's fine. I do receive the monthly minutes, I do receive the agendas, I do receive, and Roddy and I work really well together. So the part of the policy that they're not following as far as their accounting things, no problem, I can let you know. And then Roddy and I can work together on
Well, I think
the
as a
other
council,
things.
we can look at it, and we may want to appoint a person to do that as well. I mean, we can make any changes. I don't
So
wanna
everything
I don't
in
want to put
here-
Mr. Roddy in a tight spot, in a fight between him and the recreation districts. I don't think that's fair to him. They're going to give him a lot of criticism with whatever he does, and
But let's put Kandace there.
Mr. Hebert has something.
But the flip side of the matter.
Okay.
Okay, the flip side of the matter is it has to be somebody knowledgeable. Or it's like anything else on a job site.
Right.
Okay, you can't send a secretary to go see how the ship's being built.
And I think most of the violations are going to have to do with money anyway. Mr. LaReal and the districts can come to the council if they're having scheduling issues.
I think the way I would work that out is I recommend administration to make sure that the ordinance is followed, which is now law. Is let Kandace and Roddy work that out and split those duties. If it's a financial duty, let Kandace handle it. If it's something to deal on the recreation side that Roddy's gonna know about, let Roddy handle it. If they got a problem, they contact the legal department, or they can bring it up to the council and put it on the agenda.
Yeah, and the districts can approach and do the same.
Exactly.
What I'm trying to do is
To
just
work.
not put somebody in a pickle where they might not want to be.
Can I comment to that?
Yes.
So the only thing that I would suggest is let us report to the council what's not being done, and then the council decide where to go
Right.
from there.
And that's
So
the
it's
spirit
not,
of,
I mean, we'll, if
that's
y'all,
the spirit of the document, so yeah.
right, and if y'all decide y'all want, a monthly report, a quarterly
I just don't want them
report,
saying Roddy's tattletaling on us, or,
well,
I
that,
don't
yeah.
care. I don't care if they say Kandace is tattletaling on us, because Kandace controls the money. All right, so they're just gonna have to get over it.
Yeah, so we just need to know what y'all want from us and how often you want it, and we'll be glad to do it.
And we can take that up as a council among us members with Mr. Hebert and come to a conclusion on that. I just didn't see it in here, and I just wanted to make sure that we've got it good. And maybe Ms. Domingue has already had some conversation. I see she has a light on, so.
Okay, Mr. Hebert, go ahead.
As a point of matter, maybe which can be developed is a required checklist. Is that if Kandace and Roddy can come up with a checklist required at the recreation districts, send it in so often, maybe every quarter, and check off that they are complying with the various parts of it. What you think about that?
And I think once everybody gets used to it, it's going to be
It's going
smoother.
to fall in line.
Right.
But the checklist would be they certifying to the council that they're complying with the rule.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, Mr. Harding.
Yeah, I can get in between you guys. I got my light now. When Mr. Thibodeau came up, that's something has to be considered too. So what you just finished saying is the fact that we are actually, the government is actually going to these other rec districts, and some of the things that they actually have is actually being taken away because the word that you used was dictate to them. And then, so in that dictation, then you actually have the assumption that they're being dictated to. Y'all meet once a month, right? All the recreation districts. Y'all have, well, the ones that show up. I look on your face, the ones that show up. That's an opportunity right there, you know what I mean? And I said before, when we allow this to go to where it is, and then we're sitting here saying this, that, and the other, and we are the people that actually make decisions. Just like we're going to accept this right now, we can come right back and change anything they want to change it. Don't leave that part out of the equation. So when you actually looking at that, so we can work things on as they go. This was a long process. I don't know. It had a lot of work to do there. And I think another thing is the point is the reason why that board that he meets with every month. That's all the districts right there. It's a lot of rigmarole going back and forth. That decision can be made there. The difference is like summer camp. When I went there several times, the difference is about summer camp and COVID and all of these things. That's where I think that should be handled at, because we actually send people from over there that represents the parish, and then all the recreation districts are there. The other thing, Mr. Lareal and Ms. Kandace, is the fact that the systems right now, that you guys are not requiring all the people to have that software, aren't y'all? They are. They are. What are the ones that can't afford it or whatever? Have they come up to it?
So we have not billed the rec districts yet because it hasn't actually been put into place, so it's not active, so it's just TPR. In the ordinance that was adopted by this council back in 2020, 2019, whenever that was, 21, 10 years ago, in that ordinance, you adopted that they were going to be charged for that fee, and it's going to be based on the allocation of their property millage that has been collected. Mm-hmm. So once we go active, once we get all of their properties in place, and once we can start the scheduling, we'll do the billing starting that year.
Yeah, and Mr. Lareal, when you have football, basketball, softball, and I know, you know, man, there's some elite facilities, and there's some facilities that may be available in other areas. But let's say, for instance, football or basketball. Let's use basketballs. And basketball, generally, you can use a number of facilities. So these recreation districts that you actually have, you have to give them how much notice, or how much notice that, well, the question, how much notice that you have to give them that you need that particular facility?
Well, that's a tough question to answer, because some of the districts, the facilities are not used as much, so they're readily available. But the more utilized facilities, we have to try and get in there a little bit earlier to try and let them know. So what the manual proposes is that, what Kandace said earlier, we'll go in and block off what we think we need, not consuming all of the dates, block off what we think we need for that year for basketball, volleyball, whatever it is, and then the other dates will be readily available. Then within 2 weeks after we have our registrations and everything gets done, we finalize our teams, then the dates that are not being used, we can release back to the district so they could do what they want with those dates, and or we also have open gym 4 nights a week from 4 to 8 in every gymnasium.
Mm-hmm. So I just asked that question just to put it out there, just to add some more information. But remember, we're approving this, and we can change it. So as we go on, we actually modify what we have to do. We just can't leave it on the table the way it is. Thank you.
And I have a question, I don't know, I guess is you, Roddy, or what, but did the rec districts get copies of this to look at and review? And they submitted, do we get any things that the rec districts requested that was not incorporated in this?
So we met with them August, October.
They received this a year ago.
Yeah.
Pretty much like it is. And then just recently, we met with them again within the last 2 or 3 months. And we went over chapter by chapter, 3 hours, every bit of
Page
this.
by page.
Allowed them to ask questions, answer questions. And like she was said.
So to your knowledge, is there any major, large point that we have not incorporated that we're in disagreement with?
The only things, Mr. Guidry, that we could not incorporate into here that they wanted was because the ordinance that the council passed is what is in place, and that had to be put into here. Everything else that they suggested or had questions about, we were able to address, or I was at least able to explain to them. There are a few things in here, and I think I have a list that I can send to you that we could not change in the policy because the ordinance that was created to start the policy had those things in there.
And if we want to change this, then basically it's just introduce an ordinance to amend the budget. So in 2 weeks, this can be changed if we find a problem in it.
Yeah.
Just making clarification. Ms. Domingue?
Yes, thank you very much. And as a council person, I appreciate this, but as a consumer of TPR, sports with my young children, I definitely appreciate this process being streamlined. I would like to make a suggestion, though, to my fellow council members that we just have, and we talked about this before, a standing agenda item that if you need it, you can use it. If you don't need it, we can just pull it. That way, at least you have a place to come, because I know in the past, after conversations that I've had, if something happened or if there was a question or a concern or something, you guys didn't know where to go. So at least that gives you a space to go and to discuss with us anything that comes up, good, bad, whatever. I mean, it may be that this is really working well and you guys just want to come tell us how wonderful the new software is working. So I would just like to maybe offer that suggestion to my fellow council members. So thank you.
Ms. Mauldin, you want to address that?
Yeah, well, I want to address what you said, Mr. Guidry. So in this policy, it does also allow the rec districts to amend it to include their own policy. If they want to do something that's more restrictive of this policy, they absolutely can, and it's in there. If there are some changes that they want to do, even if it's more restrictive, it still has to come to the council for approval. So whatever they're doing to amend it to fit their needs, it's available for them in here, and it comes back to this council to do it. We met with them, like we said. We went over all of them. We will meet with them again December 5th to go over what we had met previously, what we couldn't change, why we couldn't change it, and hopefully get everybody on board. So I just wanted to tell you that there are ways to amend it. The districts themselves can amend it. They just have to work through the approval process.
Thanks, Ms. Mauldin. Mr. Babin?
Yeah, not everything in this manual is new, okay? There's things that's been there for a long time, and this year, before this council, in the budgetary process, you had to bring up that a number of recreation districts have not turned in that. Hopefully you have all those budgets now. All but one. You see, so it's got to be a give and take between TPR and the recreation districts, but that's been an ordinance for a long time that the recreation districts have to turn in by what, November 1st?
Yes, sir.
And by November 1st, you only had 3. So, I applaud all the good work that the rec districts do. Let's just abide by these things, and it makes it a lot simpler. So, thank you.
Mr. Michel?
I'd like to know who is the one who's not turning in their budget yet.
Ms. Mauldin?
Rec 5.
Okay, thank you.
All right, any more discussion? We have a motion and a second. All in favor say... Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Lareal, go ahead.
Yeah, I would just like to reiterate what Ms. Kandace said. Monday, December 5th, if you're interested, TPR building, 6 o'clock. Is our next scheduled meeting for the advisory board.
It's going on my calendar right now.
And another thing I'd like to just clarify the air a little bit. I guess it was mentioned earlier about something about the recreation district, the recreation director, and then overreach or whatever was mentioned. I'm not too sure. But this manual was not Roddy Lareal's idea. Roddy Lareal didn't approve this manual, all right? Roddy the Real is gonna follow this manual, because that's what the ordinance is. But it's not me that I helped put it together after the ordinance was worked together. This is based on the recommendation of the task force that this council put together. Whether I agree with it or disagree with things is a moot point, but I'm gonna follow this. And I did not have anything to do with making any of this as far as setting it into motion or setting it in place. I sat down at numerous meetings with the task force to educate myself and keep abreast of everything that was going on for the whole year. Hours of meetings, 2 hours, 3 hours. Based on everything that they recommended to you, the ordinance was created, and this manual is based on the ordinance. So I would just like everybody to understand that this is not the director, Roddy the Real, trying to overreach or whatever was mentioned. Appreciate it.
Thank you for clarifying that. We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ordinance is adopted. An ordinance to amend the parish compensation and classification plan for the Houma Fire Department. Public once. Public twice. Third time public. Motion to close, Mr. Dirk Guidry, seconded by Mr. Carl Harding. All in favor say aye. Motion to adopt, Mr. Carl Harding, seconded by Mr. Dirk Guidry. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Ordinance is adopted. Item F, an ordinance to amend the 2022 adopted operating budget and 5-year capital outlay budget of the Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government for the following items and to provide for related matters. Animal shelter donations, $4,458. Houma Police Department, $9,089. Houma Police Department LCLE grant, $155,100. City Marshal, $1,381. D18 pump station, $7,666,667. Elliott Jones Pump Station, $800,000. Sanitation, $70,000. Road Light District 10, $2,514. Public once. Public twice. Third time public. Motion to close, Mr. Carl Harding, second Mr. Dirk Guidry. All in favor say aye. Motion to adopt, Mr. Carl Harding, second Mr. Dirk Guidry. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Ordinance is adopted. And finally, G, the proposed 2023 parish budget and 5-year capital outlay budget.
Motion to close public hearing.
Public once. Public twice. Third time public. We have a motion to close public hearing. Mr. Danny Babin, second Mr. Dirk Guidry. All in favor say aye. Any opposed? We do that at our next meeting. We have closed. No, we closed the public hearing. And I believe the next thing is a motion to adjourn. Mr. Steve Trosclair, seconded by Ms. Jessica Domingue. All in favor say aye. Any opposed? We are adjourned.